how do you know what is hard for the AI? How do you establish the boundaries of what it gets right and wrong?
Right. That's a very good question, and that's what we're trying to come up with our clients. And as you said, the cat or dog is really easy, or like car or motorcycle. Those are. I don't remember when we last did that because that is fully automated by our clients, and then the world can automate today all of these simple, obvious object detections. We work more on deeper understanding of what's happening on the image or in the video. Let's say behavioral analysis. So you can see a person with a knife. So what's your judgment? Person with a knife cutting things. Is it a criminal? Maybe it's a chef in restaurant, right? So you don't know. Maybe maybe it's a print of chef with knife on a bus, and the bus is driving by.
So it's not even like a person with a knife in a kitchen is contact, but a picture of a person with a knife on a bus in the middle of a shooting zone. Okay.
Yeah. So we have to take, consideration of the bigger context and the smaller context and what's happening, and analyze. In many cases, we should analyze the behavior. Sometimes we should analyze the intent. I mean, there is still no behavior, but we know that there will be intent. Let's say you gave me a video where a person walks in a mall, and after, I would say, 2 minutes, the person does something really dangerous. I don't know, hits somebody or something else. Now, when we go 2 minutes before that, we can see that the person's walk or the person's behavior is a little bit aggressive. So we can be more, precise on that. We can say, yeah, I mean, his attitude was aggressive because we know the consequences, right? So it's kind of going to the larger.
Yeah. So if you have images of this person before, you look for that. What was their previous behavior if you have it? What is their current behavior? Does the behavior change? The speed of it? Yeah, there's so many factors. Very interesting.
Not only that, we can. It's funny because I'm right now at CVPR. It's Computer Vision conference in Nashville, in Tennessee, and I just met a person who asked us to do annotations for data labeling for his casino project. So, and the funny thing is that they want to recognize same person over different cameras and in different times as well. So imagine one casino might have 300-400 cameras, and it's small, medium-sized casino. And what we have to do is not only, define the person, the object or subject in this case, and define the subject's behavior. We should also relate that same person through all of the different cameras and say, this is the same person that we see on the other camera. And it might even be in different times. So it's not only two cameras at the same time. Might be the person just walked around and we.
And then there's also too, like you guys are a hybrid. I'm sure they have these systems look for aberrant behavior, and then there's a threshold. You can set the sensitivity up or down on various parameters, and it gets flagged and probably goes to a human for secondary review. And you don't want too much of that. You don't want too little. So I'm guessing you're probably balancing all these factors. And
this is This is a difficulty because I mean it's our client's headache, not ours. I mean, they develop the computer vision model, and they develop the outcomes of the model. Of what model predict the prediction, but it heavily depends on how well we did our job for them, how precisely we did our job for them to give them the training data set so they could train their model. Yeah, sure.
Do you have another example? I know you don't want to violate client privilege, but what can you say? What other examples do you have that are very interesting?
Yeah. Oh, so I can tell you my favorite example, and it's environmental. It's not from the people kind of example. So it's from agriculture. Now imagine, do you know what is the most important animal in the world, for the world to be alive?
Like an earthworm or the what? Animal? Like an earthworm or like a phytoplankton? No.
Okay, let's say insect. It's a bee. Okay.
Oh, a honeybee.
Yeah. I mean the bees. Yeah. So if there will be no bees, there will be no plants, because the plants grow because bees.
Yeah, they
pollinate. Yeah. Thank you. I love the pollen. Yeah. Now imagine when you're agricultural, big agricultural company, and you have your fields of whatever, I don't know, crops or whatever, and you have some kinds of diseases or some kind of weeds or some kind of bad bugs that you want to determine. What you're gonna do is you're gonna bring lots of chemicals and distribute them over the field.